Welcome to today's special meeting, and I especially would like to welcome our DEC members. If you're not a DEC member yet, please allow me 10 seconds to myth bust. There's no nomination or application requirement or job level requirement for becoming a member. We're just looking for people that want to build their networks and learn from thought leaders like the ones we have on stage today. You can sign up at econclub.org. There's some terrific benefits. And as we get started, I would just ask you to silence your cell phone so we do not disturb today's program. In one of the many traditions of DEC meetings, we always begin by honoring our country with the Pledge of Allegiance. So I'd ask you to stand and join me. The flag is to my right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And kindly remain standing. Our invocation today will be delivered by Reverend Don Wright from First Presbyterian Church of Dearborn.
Let us pray. Lord God, we pause, thankful that we live in a free land in this time of change. Moving from an industrial age to an info-technological age challenges our best and brightest. A 24/7 news cycle provides a cacophony of voices and events. Our world and nation are immersed in controversial issues, divisions, and rancor. From the killing fields of the Middle East to unrest in Hong Kong, the slaughter of innocents, the misery of millions of refugees. Oh God, we find our nation engaged in a period of division, incivility, and discourse exhibiting rudeness, crudeness, and vulgarity. National governance appears to be a partisan stalemate, while fear, anger engulf our cities with crime, homelessness, and anti-police sentiment. We feel immersed in pain, suffering, fear, hopelessness, and loss of moral compass. Here again, Kennedy's, what can we do for our country? Reagan's belief that law must be based on a return to tradition and values we once had. King's faith adjourns assemblies of hopelessness, brings light to dark chambers of pessimism. For faith is not selfies, friends are not Facebook numbers, community is not Pokemon Go. Yet we also experience great gains. Today, business models need inclusive corporate cultures that prioritize integrity, respect, diversity, and teamwork in order to unlock innovation and improve our lives. Our distinguished speaker brings insights into how our smart technologies are redefining human experience. Thanksgiving 2019 reminds us of Lincoln's words. Praise to our benevolent Father as he implored the almighty hand to heal the wounds of the nation, restore it as consistent with divine purpose to the full enjoyment of peace, harmony, tranquility, and union. And God, give rest to the tigers, oil up the pistons, restore lift to the Red Wings, and poke those lions to a win. Amen and amen.
Thank you, Reverend Don. Please be seated, everybody. A quick but important thank you to HARMAN and Lawrence Technological University for partnering with us on today's webcast. And certainly, as many of you know, we love having high school and college students with us at each and every meeting. These students are here courtesy of our generous corporate sponsors. Their morning already began with a terrific Q&A session with Dinesh. Let's just take a minute to let me tell you who is in the audience with us today. So today we've got students from Martin Luther King Junior High School, thanks to Dykema, Advanced Tech Academy, thanks to Urban Science, Lawrence Technological University, thanks to Aetna, Wayne County Community College District, thanks to Accenture, and Detroit Collegiate Prep, thanks to Comerica Bank. How about joining me in a round of applause for the students and their sponsors? Two things on your tables quickly. One is our sponsor and partner brochure. Take a quick look at that, and please, if you can, patronize those businesses. They are the reason that I'm standing here today and you're seated there today. So if you're part of our corporate sponsor program, we thank you. If you're interested in becoming a sponsor, there's terrific benefits. Would like to talk to you offline. Also on your table is our season lineup. Got one more left in December if you're lucky enough to be one of our young leader members under the age of 40. December 3rd, Rick Hampson, the Michigan president for Citizens Bank, will be delivering a terrific presentation at the Imagine Royal Oak. That's December 3rd. And then we'll kick off the new year, January 7th, with our annual Economic Outlook meeting. This year, we're thrilled that we'll be joined by Diane Swank, Chief Economist Grant Thornton, and Jeff D'Onofrio, who leads State of Michigan's labor and economic development efforts. If you're a tweeter, we want you to tweet today using @DebtEconomicClub. And finally, one of the more popular elements of our DEC meetings, we want to hear from you. So there'll be an opportunity at the end for audience Q&A. There's instructions on your tables. You can submit those questions via smartphone, and those questions will make their way to our presiding officer, who I'm about to put to work. Dr. Verinder Maudgil is a DEC board member. He's the president and CEO of Lawrence Technological University. They provide tremendous pro bono services to the Detroit Economic Club that we're forever grateful. They video every one of our DEC meetings. They also allow us to use Lawrence Tech facilities in Southfield for many committee and board meetings. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming my good friend, Dr. Verinder Maudgil.
Thank you, Steve. And good afternoon, everyone, Detroit Economic Club members and guests. Are we in for a treat today? Are you able to hear me? Thank you. It is my privilege to introduce today's participants. This will be a blockbuster session with two megawatt stars of their respective professions. And let me also welcome for a return visit of another star that we had the pleasure of having earlier. That is the second visit for Dinesh Paliwal. Welcome. Thank you. Dinesh Paliwal is president and CEO of HARMAN, a wholly-owned subsidiary of Samsung Electronics. In addition to HARMAN board, Dinesh serves on the boards of Bristol Myers Squibb, Nestle, Raytheon Company. Paliwal joined HARMAN in 2007 and served as chairman of the board from 2008 to March 2017, when the company was acquired by Samsung Electronics. Dinesh has worked and lived in 6 countries on 4 continents. Prior to joining HARMAN, he spent 22 years with ABB Group. So it's been an interesting journey for him. He is a member of the CEO Business Roundtable and serves on the corporate advisory boards of the John F. Kennedy Center. I love that. The Wilson Center and the U.S.-India Business Council. Dinesh is regularly recognized by industry peers and the media for his role in driving innovation and business excellence. He has been named one of the Yahoo Finance 5-star CEOs, Fortune's Business Person of the Year, and Motor Trend Power List, to name just a few. Dinesh's dedication to social progress, diversity, and philanthropy has been recognized by several noted organizations, including the International Honor Society Beta Gamma Sigma, the Asian American Business Development Center, and the American India Foundation. Dinesh is also a recipient of the prestigious Ellis Island Medal of Honor, which celebrates patriotism, tolerance, and diversity. He holds a master's degree in engineering from the nation's premier institute called Indian Institute of Technology, and a master's degree in applied science and engineering and business administration from Miami University of Ohio. Our moderator today is Liz Claman. Liz Claman is an Emmy Award-winning television anchor who has been described by Vanity Fair as one of the television's top business reporters and anchors. Claman started her on-air reporting career for ABC affiliate in Columbus, Ohio, And today, Liz anchors the Fox Business Network show of her own, the Claman Countdown. The Claman Countdown consistently leads the network to the highest rating in business programs. Over the course of her career in television at Fox Business and CNBC, Liz has interviewed the most powerful business and world leaders of our day, including Warren Buffett, Richard Branson, Bill Gates, Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, and just to name a few. A graduate of University of California, Berkeley, and the Sorbonne in Paris, where I spent some time, Claman is a member of the Board of Directors of American Theater Wing and is a Tony Award voter. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm Detroit Economicum welcome to these very distinguished guests, Dinesh and Liz. Yes. Thank you. Thank you very much. As Dinesh and Liz take their place on the stage, please turn your attention to the screen for a short video on Harman. Thank you.
Said, we are Harman, we are everywhere. We are in Detroit.
Hey!
First of all, thank you all so much. And I just want to take a second, though, to thank the servers here who have put on, I do a lot of these. I know you do too. This food is amazing. So let's give a hand for everybody who served and who cooked for all of us. We're thrilled that you're all here. I'm really thrilled to be up here with him. When Dinesh calls, I answer. So, Dinesh, did you ever see the TV show The Beverly Hillbillies, 1962? Yeah. Okay, they drove, how many of you guys saw that, right? You little youngins from the high school, right? You won't remember, but it was an old jalopy truck. How many saw the futuristic bubble car with the gull wings in Woody Allen's Sleeper? It was an autonomous vehicle that nobody in 1972 would ever imagine would come to place. And what we have today, neither the TV show producers or the movie writers would have ever imagined our cars have become, and so much of that is because of Dinesh Paliwal and Harman and your team and what you've innovated. So that is really where I want to begin. But again, we're going to broaden the aperture of this discussion, not just to the auto industry. I know everybody here knows that technology is moving incredibly quickly, and then you throw out the term 5G, and it's at the speed of light. I want to begin with asking you, which industries do you feel are holding pace, at the forefront, and part two of the question, who's lagging behind and who needs to step it up?
So, Liz, first of all, thank you for being here.
My pleasure.
The story goes, there are amazing reporters and journalists in Detroit. And it's my privilege to be here second time. But I said, Liz, Detroit has seen a renaissance, a reincarnation. we would love to have you as a national anchor to come to Detroit and please work with me. And frankly, she said, Dinesh, Fox is a big enterprise. I need to run through the process, but I'm going to get through the process. And next thing we know, she said, I'm coming. So I'm very thankful to you, first of all. It is for Detroit. Second, I also want to say thank you for Detroit Economic Club board members and the patrons and everyone else who put together this amazing program. It's a Thanksgiving week, and many of you have family and other engagement. For you to all come and do the house full, that I think says a lot. So very thankful and very humble. Now to your question. It's a delicate question because depending on what industry you are, but I'll speak what I think. So technology is right now, we had Thomas Friedman 3 weeks ago giving a lecture to my leadership team of 140 people. He's a visionary, he's a thinker, and he will tell you black and white, just amazing guy. So he used the word, we're going through accelerated speed of climate change, political change, the populism and what have you, and technology change. And all three somehow are intertwined. So in that accelerated, one is just linear change, which we also used to, but exponential or accelerated change is very uncomfortable because we wake up every day, things are changing and hard to keep up with. So in that word, if you look at which other industries have responded early or adapted early or at least trying to stay ahead, it goes back to the tech word again. So company which comes to my mind first is who has completely reinvented the business model is Great American Amazon. They are really, one can say in a negative side that they're destroying a lot of mom and pop shops. At the same time, they're creating millions of jobs. So Microsoft, the Googles of the world, and I'm not saying it's only American companies, there are some companies outside, 70% of these tech companies have completely revamped their business model. What does that mean? Business model is a cliche everybody talks about. They have invested tens of billions in dollars for whatever they develop, products, systems, services. They're totally interconnected. They pass the information, consumer first, so they're learning everything, what consumers like, what they don't like, and they're creating a connected ecosystem. Again, it's a big word, but it's a reality. So number one, I think tech word is really up there. Then I would say banking. Banking has truly kept up with innovation. Namely, I had some student session before this, and cybersecurity came up. If after defense, is there any industry who has really done great work is banking. So they have invested heavily in understanding the cyber threat and responding to cyber threat and stay one step ahead. Because bad actors are way too many out there. Then I would say defense industry has obviously perceived they don't have budget restraint, but they do have, I sit on the Raytheon, our nation's great defense company with cybersecurity worldwide leadership. They have constraint, but I have to say in defense, they have to think long term. The biggest customer is Department of Defense for us, 90%. Commander-in-Chief is the boss for a lot of business we do. So we're responding to very long-term DARPA issues. How do we take on China and the other big emerging nations in our defense superiority? So a lot of technology, machine learning, artificial intelligence, data analytics are on the forefront. The industries which are kind of scrambling right now, my own industry. Audio industry is coming along from the, from the traditional business, how did we consume audio, to where we are right now, at the expense of quality. At the same time, a lot of work is happening. Automotive industry is, I would say, we have some challenges. I would not say whole industry. There are actors who are moving faster, but longer you have been in the business, harder it is to change, unfortunately. My company is 75-year-old. I feel I'm a custodian. So I'm doing the best I can so that this company, I hand it over to somebody who can take it to the next level. Auto industry is, to a large extent, is still keeping in the silo mentality, not really reaching out to collaboration with the tech, collaboration with the similar auto industry. Until Elon Musk came, we were actually threatening we were actually telling consumers you don't need bigger than 3 by 3 inch screen. Well, Tesla doesn't have more accident than all other cars if you look at the statistics. I'm not saying I'm a biggest Tesla fan, they are our customer, but my point is we still have this not invented here. At the same time, if I look at, because I'm very deep inside into it, this industry must collaborate. This industry must reach out, tech, OEM to OEMs, and geopolitically, tensions and constraints should not stop. Scale matters in automotive. The massive capital expenditure we require to leapfrog, I mean, we're talking 5G, we're talking autonomous driving. We have so much work to do. I've been saying for 5 years, autonomous is not here. Another 10, 15 years, minimum, in my opinion, because we have so much work to be done. So everything is in between. Now, food industry is waking up as well. We're going to be realizing, all of us sitting, including 2 of us here, we are consumers, and we are demanding ultra-personalized delivery to me, what I need, because a German, an American, a Chinese, a Japanese, an Indian consume certain food differently. You cannot give me the same food everywhere, and weather by weather, our body changes. So I'm on the board of Nestle, and I'm privileged to see how much R&D they're putting in biome and understanding the genomes and personalizing the nutrition and food. So the good news is, Liz, that people are embracing the new technology, and some of them are behind in this race, but I think they're realizing that if they do not get out of their comfort zone, they may not be there. So the pace of change is so rapid, if you don't act fast, you're just today's news.
You know, you could use, we're in Motown, the music industry, as almost being the perfect example of a canary in a coal mine where the music industry almost went out of business when Napster, which some of you may remember, came out, and basically nobody needed to buy an album anymore, and the record labels were completely caught flat-footed. So let it really be a warning, correct? I mean, must they learn from others' mistakes, not just their own? Is that how you manage?
Absolutely. See, disruption, we always believed too big to fail, right? We have seen it right in our own town in Detroit. There is no such thing, right? We've seen it. Even banks, largest automotive companies, they had to ask for help. So disruption doesn't have to be done by the startups. Thank God they are doing it, because I love startups because they challenge us and we learn quickly and we adapt. Disruption can also happen within. GM is a good example. I have to give a lot of credit to the current leadership of Mary Barra and the whole management. They are running independent technology ventures. If you try to do it all through the same management, day-to-day making the car and feeding the system and shareholders, then innovation really doesn't take the driver's seat. So they have independent startups happening. This is exactly how it has to happen. You cannot do what GE did. GE is going in the path, unfortunately, what Xerox did. So GE used to be 25, 30 years ago, the greatest company in the world. Now GE is not the same GE, unfortunately. So these are the lessons we have to see. I mean, I'm paranoid to a degree what may happen tomorrow, what may happen next month, because we can be wiped out. So that's the threat. Yes. And that's what I discuss in my leadership team. What can happen? What if, what if, what if?
You do have to anticipate the worst. You don't have to be a pessimist, but you have to know the possibilities that even the greatest giants, glad you brought up General Electric. When I worked at CNBC, GE owned NBC, nobody would have predicted what has come to pass today, where it is merely a shell. So you've got to keep innovating, and clearly that is an incredibly important thing. I do want to now dovetail a little bit to more deeper discussion in the auto industry. One of the things that I think has been fascinating to see, and you guys may or may not agree, but I remember about 9 years ago when texting was starting to become new, and there was the whole issue of distracted driving, and that was merely with making phone calls. You know, you go back, when they wanted to install radios in cars, people were terrified that there would be more accidents. But as we see this evolve, the whole sort of vision of what a car is for, transportation from point A to point B, has now been turned on its side, very much in part because of what HARMAN and companies like it have been able to bring, and that is using your car as only a means to an end, but being able to accomplish more in a car To me, that's fascinating. Talk about the advancements that you've seen in just the past few years.
It's fascinating, fascinating. So first of all, automotive industry cannot say we're not the tech company. Every company, every industry is a tech business now. And automotive is very much in the middle of it. So you started talking about distracted driving and texting and this looking at the screen, what have you. Solution is not to stop drivers to do. Drivers, millennials, Generation G coming up, they want their lifestyle to go with them wherever they go, from home to office to car to wherever they go. They're not sacrificing. They're not willing to. They won't even buy a car if they have to park their lifestyle at the curb. So they are demanding tech. They understand the ticket to dance floor is to have the regular safety, power, luxury in the car, but they're saying, where is my tech? What we all used to, whatever you use here, your tablet, your phone, your life revolves around it. So that's the challenge. That's where we are coming now. So I'm a big proponent of tech over torque. Torque is there. We perfected over 100 plus years. Now we need to talk about how do we make car as one of the node in our connected lifestyle.
You've actually coined a term, have you not?
Right. I've coined the term called EPM, experience per mile. We grew up with gallons per mile, revolution per RPM, GPM, now it's EPM time. So what we want is experience per mile. Average driver in Los Angeles, Taipei, Boston, New York, they spend good 2.5, 3 hours a day in a car. That's the time not so productive. You make a few phone calls, feel good, I use my time. Actually, you would rather be in the office or in home, do something more productive. So our goal, our mission is, and we're working with tech companies and automotive companies. We had last year EPM Council set up. We have Google, Amazon, Microsoft, we have General Motors, we have Volkswagen, the large companies like HARMAN and others, and we are bringing the think tank. How do we bring AI, machine learning to learn driver behavior? How do we bring safety in the car? All the sensors, how do we mine the data? Data is no good. Data is only as good as once it's mined. How do we mine that? To improve the safety, security, and then with 5G coming in 2021, 5G would be starting to roll out, so that all of you know, 5G is 100 times faster than 4G. None of us even experienced 4G. We were promised 4G, but we got barely 2.5G or 3G, even in New York City. So 5G is going to change the way we consume data at home or in the car. So with 5G, we're able to use cloud-based applications. Car becomes your thin client, big computational power is in the cloud. And now with the cybersecurity as a platform baked into what you do, you're able to do, by the way, cars in 2025, 2030 would have as many as 300 million lines of programming code. Today we have almost 150 microcomputers in the car. So it's a very complex infrastructure. So technology from various stakeholders, from LiDAR, from radars, the ultrasonics, the night vision, the defense technology, the Israeli startup technology, the Boston, the Bay Area, and the OEMs. We feel at HARMAN, our role is, we're the integrator. We are acting the middle between Silicon Valley and the Detroit and try to make things happen. And this is where we are headed, and we are very excited about it, that how can we give a dream. My dream is convert car into a living room, in your office, in your recording room, or in your stadium live recording, live watching of games, live consumption of Kennedy Center performance with 5G. You can move your seats around, you can do video conferencing, you can do e-banking while you're safe and secured. So cybersecurity is fundamental. Safety is fundamental. We are losing more than 100 lives every day in the United States. More than 100 lives. That's a huge loss of human lives here. That's due to distraction and unsafe driving. So we have a lot in front of us. Liz, the good thing is roadmap is being defined. A lot has been defined. And we have big companies like GM, Volkswagen, Toyotas are taking huge interest on this roadmap. How do we execute?
But can private enterprise? Can these brilliant companies run by amazingly smart people who are very creative, and then the small startups, because Dinesh is a big supporter of startups, can they do it alone, or does the government need to come in with that financial power and spend where it would be valuable with the youth that we've got high school students here, we've got Clark University, Eastern Michigan. We want those students to be prepared for tomorrow, to get the jobs of tomorrow, but if you don't have a huge amount of money, like in the olden days, getting the railroad industry up, that was government, pharmaceutical, a lot of government involvement there.
Liz, that's a very, very good question. And what we just defined, you're absolutely right. This cannot be done by GM alone, or Google alone, or Microsoft or Apple. They're giants, they're trillion-dollar companies. They have access to technology. They have global footprint, but they cannot. US government cannot do it alone. Chinese government cannot do it alone. This will require never been done before type of public-private partnership, first of all. Why? 5G infrastructure cannot be controlled and deployed by a company. This will require standard setting by the major governments. United States has to lead because we believe we have to, because we are on the cutting edge here. But we have to collaborate with Western countries, the Asian countries. You cannot have different standards, otherwise we'll never have the connected lifestyle. Number two, startups. They play a big role. I'm a huge proponent of collaboration. Until Samsung acquired us, even now, but before that, constantly on the mission. We acquired 3 companies in Israel, 7 companies in the United States. Why? Because these are great startups. They have something which we didn't have. We wanted to give them scale. Some we invested, some we acquired, some we left alone and did the partnership. So collaboration is the key as we go forward. Otherwise, this dream will not come true.
We have to bang out a couple more things, and we're going to do a fun little lightning round in just a minute where I ask Dinesh a bunch of rapid-fire questions, and then we are going to open it up to questions. So please get your thinking caps on. You can throw anything at his head, a curveball, a fastball, whatever. Sorry. Sorry for putting you out there like that, but I know you can handle it. Let me get to hiring. There's a hiring crisis in this country, not because there aren't enough people, but because they're not educated for the right and good-paying jobs. What do we do about that, Dinesh? And does every kid who happens to be sitting here, do they have to become an engineer? Do they have to know how to code? Because I am one of those kids who did not have interest in doing that. I wanted to be a journalist. I wanted to read. I believe in, the liberal arts. I really do. What do you say to the up-and-coming workers of tomorrow about the best thing they can do to make themselves employable in this world?
Liz, this is we are at the cusp of a serious problem in our own country. Just so that you all know, we are leaving $1 trillion of GDP just in our country, United States of America, because we cannot hire people we need. $1 trillion GDP. It's not a small number. We have vacancies in engineering and non-engineering functions. We have a skill set mismatch. How did we get here? Do we want to blame the globalization? No. Globalization is the genie out of the bottle. You cannot put it back in. US has benefited from globalization immensely. 1 in 5 jobs in US today are dependent on cross-border trade.
Yeah.
We have massive trade going on and we want more of it. But Liz, the problem is, as globalization started to take place, we left a lot of people out of skill development. We did not give inputs, public-private partnership. Even corporations did not do their part genuinely. So we created massive inequality, and that inequality resonates with short-term politics and short-term leadership. Populism is in many countries. You can count yourself. I will not get into politics here. So I actually did a lecture with UPenn, CEO Academy. This was the topic. What we all have to do. So we had 45 CEOs in that room, and I said, the best short-term is to be long-term. You have to start investing in your communities, in reskilling, into education, and work with community colleges, universities, high school, and start to influence the curriculum, what you will need. You don't need only engineers, you need so many skills. To your point, Liz, this is what Germany did, fantastic job, and they're reinventing themselves. They had a great apprenticeship program. internships work. So I think this is what we have to do. What that means, some countries like India has forced 3% of profit goes to CSR, corporate social responsibility. We in US don't need to be forced, but we need to be responsible, which means we have to put aside, as a CEOs, I'm willing to talk to my shareholders to say, look, I'm for stakeholders, shareholders, employees, customers, and society. We need to start investing part of the profit we make into society in reskilling. So when the economy goes down, the cycles go up and down. Some people will be out of the job, but they're constantly keeping their skill set up. You can hire them back. Right now, problem is, once you're out of the job, you're going to be completely left behind. You're not ready for the next boom comes up. That's the problem, Liz. And of course, short term, we cannot fix it. We can do this, but we need to have a smart immigration. Look at our own country. Startups, big company, the most valuable companies are run by first-generation immigrants. We all are immigrants. Let's accept that. So we need to have a smart immigration policy, bring people based on what we need, a skill set. We don't need to have a lottery system like many other countries. I'm all for it. And go back to basics of education. This country is known for, that's what I came in '81, to get the best of the best education. So we are good at what we do. We have to go back to that. And unfortunately, there the public partnership has failed.
Okay. Let's do our little lightning round here, and then we will open it to questions. So you ready to just play along?
Don't know
here?
what you're asking.
Okay, so I'm going to fire some questions at Dinesh. What's on your bucket list that hasn't made it into your bucket yet?
My wife gave me a surprise gift of zero-gravity flight. I loved it, and I would love to have a space flight if it is affordable someday.
Go in space. You'd go up into orbit.
Yes.
Okay, I don't want to go to Philadelphia. That's scary, okay? Somebody other than a family or a friend whom you would love to have lunch with because you could learn so much.
Branson, Galactic. I think that would fulfill my bucket list also. Virgin Galactic.
And by the way, you know, Richard Branson has written an incredible book. It's got the word screw in it, but he is, because he basically says, screw it, just do it. That's basically what it is. I encourage
That's Nike,
all
right?
of you to read it. Or like, screw it, just go for it or something. But he started with nothing, and he has built so many different creative businesses that are real disruptors. Okay, one of your favorite songs of all time.
Celebration by Kool and the Gang. I do believe as CEOs or community leaders, we are talking way too much about negativity. We don't celebrate enough small success. We wait for the big one. If we start celebrating, we'll create the momentum of positivity.
Okay. Favorite team growing up?
You may not know my answer. For that is very easy. Is Indian national cricket team.
How about now that you've been living in America all this time? Do you have a favorite team?
New York Yankees. I'm sorry. They haven't done so well off late, so you should be happy about that.
Okay, so I'm from LA. My first on-air job was at WSYX in Columbus, Ohio. Second was WEWS in Cleveland. I am Indians all the way, which is pathetic because all we ever have done is lost. Your best sport that you do?
Cricket.
I gotta see this. The last book you read?
We were in Africa and we read the book called Factfulness. I suggest you read. It's easy reading. Factfulness by Hans Rosling. It's an award-winning author.
Okay, factfulness.
Yeah.
Factfulness.
It's all about facts. The word is not as bad as we make it look like. All scientific information in that book.
One of your very favorite movies of all time?
Scent of the Woman. You would not believe my wife is tired of me, probably seen it 100 times, and I still would like to see it again.
Can you do that sort of courtroom speech that Al Pacino gives? But not a rat. Your favorite vacation spot?
I love nature, and we've gone to Africa 4 times as family, and I love Botswana safari. And when I have more time, I want to spend more time in that area.
Describe Detroit in one word.
So Detroit has been defined so many ways. as you and I were flying, and I said, Detroit is going through a change. I call it incarnation. It's coming up big. Incarnation.
Incarnation. And finally, what advice would you give to your 25-year-old self? And first explain where you were at age 25, what you were doing, your hopes, your dreams, and what advice you would give that person today.
So I came here when I was 23, Miami of Ohio, and very hungry, wanted to get a lot of things done, but a little introverted, a little shy, very intense in so many ways. So I would tell myself, if I could tell 25-year-old Dinesh Paliwal, don't be so intense, work hard, but also play hard. I think I've been too tough on me, and my family suffered a lot because of my intensity. That doesn't mean you cannot achieve everything what you want to achieve, so that's something I'll tell myself. Be intense, but also take care of play hard. Yeah.
Dinesh, it's wonderful to have you here. And I can only say that there's a reason I am here. I took a day off from work to come here. I don't usually do that. But Dinesh is, and I've spoken to a lot of CEOs and every Treasury Secretary going back 4 presidents, Dinesh is a CEO of which there is one. Optimistic, brilliant, so persistent, never gives up, but he also is so giving. And when you constantly say, I'm all for collaboration, he is not threatened by collaboration. He is inspired by it. And that's how you grow. Dinesh, thank you so much. And I want to bring up Dr. Mugdal because he's going to name some questions that some of you have submitted.
While Dr. Mugdal comes,
come on
I do
up.
want to say a special thank you to Liz.
My pleasure.
To Liz. Liz, you have no idea what it means, and we need to have you interview Mary Barra so that Mary can share. I mean, she's been in this room, hopefully, a few times. But Mary has to define where is the world of automotive going. She's a visionary, and I think she stands for diversity and inclusion, which is a very important favorite topic of both of us.
Absolutely.
So thank you for you coming here.
That goes for Ford. That goes for everybody, Fiat Chrysler. I have covered the Detroit Auto Show. I have covered Alan Mullally when he was running Ford and came in with a whole different viewpoint. I am in awe of Detroit, and the way I feel, it's like the old Bill Bond saying, stand up and tell them you're from Detroit.
Liz, that's it, you.
Ladies and gentlemen, one clapping is not enough. What a marvelous set of questions and answers and enlightening in terms of what we know and where we want to go. Please help them again be recognized for this marvelous session.
Thank you.
I have few questions which time will limit us. You know, if we had, they say night is still young, we could be here all night, but we have very little time. So with that, I start with Dinesh. The life of a mobile phone is roughly 2 years, while of a car is 8 years or 9 years. What do you look for while developing any technology that will suit both?
It's a great question. I think that's what we, as an industry, try to solve. Solution is not to keep mobile phone out of the car. You need to integrate mobile phone or tablet technology and capabilities in the car, but the challenge is safe, secure. I have a family like all of us. We don't want to be driving around with distraction. As I said, distraction is terrible. So I think 5G, safety, security are becoming fundamental building blocks of technology. We just did a live test in Turin with Fiat Chrysler cars.
Italy?
In Italy, yes. V2V and V2X, vehicle to vehicle and vehicle to infrastructure, how two cars will talk, especially at the intersection when you have a blind spot you cannot see, but through the cloud, using 5G speed, instant, no latency, so you see it as if the human eye, and we could avoid accident. We also did the trial of V2V, that was vehicle to infrastructure. We did V2V. The one car which is further ahead and experiences there is an accident, how do you immediately inform the cars? Imagine that's where we're going. So once cars start to communicate in real time, and we have a bunch of sensors, night vision, laser, LiDAR, what have you, will improve the safety. I'm absolutely convinced, people. Once you improve the safety and you have a cybersecurity, you can bring your mobile phone capabilities in the car as frequently as you do in your phone.
When are we going to see 5G at critical mass? There have been so many promises. I haven't seen it.
So 5G will come out in 2021, first time with BMW. We are implementing that using Samsung 5G technology. And I believe 2021, many car companies will launch, not globally, but selectively. But I think by 2024, you will have 5G proliferation everywhere, because you would not buy a new car unless it has 5G capability.
Well, moving on, if I may, what are your thoughts on Detroit not only being an auto capital or motor city, but also epicenter of development of next generation of mobility? How does the world see Detroit with regard to tech innovation?
So Detroit is clearly changing the perception. I have to be honest with you. 10 years ago, Detroit had perception that we stuck in the old way of doing things, and newcomers, whether Chinese or American Tesla and a few others, they were starting to be the disruptor. But I think Detroit responded very decisively. And I gave an example within GM, Ford, Chrysler. There are separate innovation think tank, fully funded, reporting to as high as to CEO. It's a lot happening. Detroit has started to embrace. I can give you an example. We have a senior program manager, Shripriya, sitting here with our entire team. She developed with Google the largest complex Android-based inbuilt digital cockpit for GM. We were very proud of that collaboration, Google, GM, and HARMAN. So many such examples are starting to happen. So Detroit is getting an image where now Google is coming in. You've got Apple, Amazon, a lot of tech work coming into Detroit, actually. So that's the good news. The bad news is we cannot find all the talent we used to have before.
Well, the life of the mobile phone, we talked so much about. This is your home, your office, and all that in a car. So the life of mobile phone is roughly 2 years, while that of a car is 8, 9, or 10 years. So what do you look for while developing any technology that will suit both or combine the longevity of a cell phone or technology and the
Why do
life
these
of a
things
car?
have to be obsolete so quickly? I know it's great for the company. We have to update it. But I don't want to spend that much money. I want something to last.
Yeah. So it's interesting. When I came in 2007, I had the same question, that we get specification for OEMs. We take 3-4 months to respond, and then we develop 2.5 years. By the time you and I as a consumers get the car, it's 3-year-old technology. 3-year-old was fine 10, 15 years ago, not anymore, because these things are changing every quarter, every month. So now there's a lot of convergence happening. Consolidation is a good thing. When Samsung bought HARMAN was a very good reason. Samsung has the largest cell phone, smartphones in the world. Largest, more than 2 billion Samsung phone. That means they have access to the data, massive networks, massive cybersecurity access, safety access. Bringing HARMAN in, who we understand ecosystem of car, so we are trying to bring in the mobile speed, the capabilities in the car, but developing together with OEM. The challenge with car development is, these things, if something goes wrong, is a headache. Something goes wrong in a car, is a life and death. Therefore, the testing is like defense grade. So that's why I can see automotive is a lot more challenging. It is not for everybody. We need to do aggressive testing. Before we take it into proof of concept in the car, we have to do a lot of pilot runs. So there might be some lag, but if the architecturally we can reform the car, how car is architected for software, for hardware, for computational, then we'll bridge the gap sooner. I would say we are going to be there in 5 years. You need platform technology, platform for software, platform for hardware, so things can sit on top, all the applications can be ported easily and safely. That's where we have to go.
Thank you. Now, the music, the sound, and HARMAN, they are members of the same club. In that regard, Dennis, would you help us? Tell us about your dinner with Sir Paul McCartney. The music, the sound.
So, I had dinner with Paul McCartney in London. He hardly talked to me. I funded for the dinner with 75 of his friends. He hung out. The second dinner we had was in New York City in Palace Hotel. And there I said, Sir Paul McCartney, you have to sit with me because I don't want to have second dinner with him. Of course, he said. And then we asked him, I said, what's your connection to Harman? He said, Dinesh, I was a poor man in Liverpool. I could not afford JBL speakers. So I recorded my great song, Hey Jude. I listened to this in Abbey Road studio, which was not his studio. It sounded, he said, awful. In an English accent, I cannot say it right.
Thank you.
He said, so I bought the JBL speakers. So I said, Paul, that's a great story to go with public. So that's where we signed up. He became our brand ambassador, came to my office, and I have a memorabilia which should go to Smithsonian one day. It's a big machine. It's a tape deck, massive. He recorded Sgt. Pepper, Hey Jude, bunch of other songs on that machine. It's in my office. It'll go to Smithsonian. He said, belongs to me. I said, no, Sir Paul McCartney, it goes to Smithsonian. So that lunch was fun. He's a great guy. He's a cool guy. And now he's got his American wife. I think it's a great influence. He himself says that I'm very happy to have Nancy in my life. And we keep in touch. But he's a phenomenal.
Thank you.
Can I
Great
just
guy.
quickly ask, because of the music industry issue, Eric Clapton is very much against Spotify and Pandora. He feels that you don't get that granularity, that emotion from an actual recording of a song. In fact, he gets emotional about it and is furious about
So do we.
it. Tell me.
So when Steve Jobs solved the problems, he said, you know what? You can listen your iTunes. I loved the mobility of music. I can just download at a huge cost. You know, here we got maximum 128-bit. The true high definition music on your LPs, if they're recorded, is 24-bit, 192 kilohertz. So you're getting 10% of what you as an artist recorded. I get 10% of it. So as an artist, how do you feel, Eric Clapton? He cries. So we have invested heavily in R&D, working with Spotify right at the cloud level where we can work with algorithm, because transporting music is expensive. So either you fix the quality there. So the problem is compression. When you compress the sound, you lose the highs and lows. Imagine the engineer at the sine wave. If you chop it off, you don't see it. That's what is happening. So we do have patented technology. We got multiple awards for that. On the device level, we can apply that technology and correct that and restore to the CD quality, not 192 but 44 kilohertz, which is already a big improvement. But long way to go. I think 5G will allow us to keep the music at high definition and still being able to bring it at lower cost. It's all about cost. People may compromise. So it is a challenge, but I think it's going to be solved.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, show your Motor City Detroit applause for our distinguished guests.
Guests. Thank you so much.
And here is,
To Liz.
thank you.
To Liz.
Liz and then Dinesh, thank you very much. We so much appreciate both of you. Dinesh, thank you for coming back to us
Liz,
again.
thank you very much.
Thank you. Here is Steve to close the program for you. Thank you, Steve.
Good time. Happy Thanksgiving to all of you, and thank you for coming.
Safe journey.
Yeah, safe journey.
Hey, folks, one very quick announcement. Before we adjourn, if you like today's program, there's 3 ways to experience it again. You can download the audio podcast tomorrow, where you download your favorites on your phone. You can watch the program on DEC's website tomorrow about this time. And if you're an Xfinity customer, you will find it on demand in the Get Local section. Dinesh, thank you for your thought leadership and for being with us. It's such an honor. We hope we can host you again.
Can I also say one more
Yes.
thing? Since it's a Thanksgiving week, we're the music company, we had to have a little token of appreciation. So all of you, please get your JBL on-go little speaker. It's a wireless speaker, gives you the JBL quality sound, something you will remember Liz with.
Thank you.
Because you had the JBL color.
That's right. What do you think, I'm dumb?
I know.
I didn't get where I am without
That's the JBL color on it. Liz.
Enjoy. Thank you
Thank
so
you, Liz.
much.
Thank you for taking
My
a day off
pleasure.
to be with us
My
as well.
pleasure.
Dr. Maudgill, thanks for all you do for the DEC. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for coming today. Happy Thanksgiving. This meeting is adjourned.